Today we're going to go through 5 reasons why you can't kick up to handstand like that. We're going to go through the base, we're going to go through a small window of balance, we're going to go through sideways instead of an up movement, lack of practice, and why you shouldn't be aiming for perfection. Now when it comes to our base, inconsistency and incorrect setup for that base are the most common issues. Our handstand base is made up of our hands and our focal position and our shoulder position. So my setup is this: hands are down on the floor, shoulders on top of the hands. My focal point is looking straight down between the fingers and I lock that into position. I have lots of weight in the shoulders, and then when I kick, everything stays exactly the same. When I come back down, everything the same, go again. See the consistency. But in practice, what we see is a lot of people have a different setup every time they attempt the kick up. So they might go for their first repetition and they set up with their hands in this position, their shoulders on top, they kick, they don't make it, but then they land in this position. Now see, the shoulders are now behind the hands, and now when I kick up, I don't get all the way up because my shoulders aren't over enough. So then we'll over kick, but when we over kick, our shoulders now might be in this position, we over kick and now we go too far in that direction. So that inconsistency of that start position of the shoulders makes a massive difference. Also, if we're going to place our hands here or here or here, change every repetition is going to give us a different result and just confuse the body. So we want to make sure that we set up exactly the same every time in terms of the hand position, in terms of the shoulders on top of the hands, in terms of the focal position. And we lock it in. So watch the focal position now. I'm looking straight down. When I kick up, see how it stays the same. A lot of people will do this or this. So again, inconsistency, something's changing. We want to set up correctly for us. Now that's going to be dependent on our flexibility. We don't want to be trying to go in this position with the hands if our flexibility means we look like this. We want to be more like this, so we want to have wider hands in that position. We want to understand where we need to look. So pick that point, even put something down on the floor. So you have that consistency of I always look here, my hands are always in this position. If you have a line on the floor, that's even better. Shoulders on top of the hands, keep it the same every attempt. If we don't get what we need, we just then need to change the amount of energy we put into the kick up instead of changing lots of things at once. The best way to look at that is video yourself from the side and from the front. Look at what you are doing, assess it, make some adjustments, and then video yourself when you're doing your repetitions to make sure you're doing the same thing every time. Number 2, a small window of balance. Now this can be a big issue. Now I've been practicing, teaching and studying handstands for the last 11 years. My window of balance is very, very big. What that means is that I can kick up and be in under balance and still catch. I can kick up and be in over balance and still catch. And I can move between the under balance and the over balance and I don't fall down. I can have a bent arm, I can have a straight arm, I can have funky legs, I can have straight legs. So my window or my room for error is very, very big, which means I always catch the handstand. But when we're learning to handstand, our window of balance is so small, it's like a knife edge. So we can be super close to catching the handstand, but we don't get it, because I never land right on that knife edge. So what we need to do is go against the wall. We need to be doing those balance drills. Over balance, practicing pushing up and through the fingers, reaching tall to pull from the wall. And then we need to be the other way around, practice the under balance and become super strong and increase that window of balance as much as possible, so I have lots of room in my under balance and my over balance, which make up your balance window. The bigger the window, the easier it is to jump in between or kick in between and catch the handstand. Number 3, our energy or momentum is going sideways and not up to handstand. So if I go to an extreme and think that I want to do a handstand there and I'm going to run in this direction and do it there, can you see how all my energy is going this direction? So if I do catch the handstand, it's because I put the brakes on and pull myself back again. Now that uses lots and lots of energy, but is also very inconsistent in terms of the catch. But if I do this instead, place the hands on the floor, put lots of weight on top of the hands, push down, my energy is planted into the ground, and then I'm going to push up and away and be nice and strong, and then I kick up to my handstand. So notice the difference now, I'm going up to my handstand. And then if I catch, my energy goes up, 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 into the air towards the handstand, instead of up and over. So when I'm practicing up against the wall, I don't want to be smashing into the wall. I'm not kicking
to the wall. What I want to be doing is planting down first, planting that tree, shoulders on top, focal point, kicking up to handstand. But if I touch the wall, I lightly touch it because I just go a little bit overbalanced as opposed to going into the wall, into the wall.
This is something you can continually practice, that pushing up into the handstand and not over. Number 4, lack of practice. So that's the balance window. So not doing those heel pull drills, those toe pull drills, those increasing that window as big as possible to make your catch strong and also your room for error. Plus the kick up itself. So a lot of people, when they start to get a little bit better at handstands, they basically give up on the kick up and take it for granted. But it's something that we want to be constantly refining and make it so it's better and better. We want to get to the point where we can guarantee we're actually going to do the kick up. So if I want to do a kick up here where there's all these sharp objects and dogs and things around, I want to be able to make sure that I can always kick up and always show control and hold the position. If I can't do that, something like this would be way too risky. But because I know I can make my arms a bit softer, I can sink the position a little bit, I can ground myself even more into my hands, I know I always will catch the handstand, even if it doesn't look the prettiest. And that only comes from doing hundreds and hundreds of repetitions, refining the position and making choices when I'm going to do the kick up. Do I want to use strength? Do I want to use flexibility? Or do I want to be as efficient as possible and save energy for lots of repetitions or harder skills? Because if I'm working a harder skill like a handstand push-up or even like a one-arm handstand, I want to be able to go into this position with the least amount of energy so I can then do the repetitions or the skill I'm working towards to the best of my ability without being fatigued from lots of kick-ups. Number 5, don't aim for perfection. We want to be realistic to our current level. Now, that could be how wide our current window of balance is, or the most common one is we try and get into a dead straight arrow position. So we try and make our handstand look like this, but our flexibility only allows our handstand to look like this. So trying to kick to this position is unrealistic for most people. Especially to start with when you're still increasing that balance window and you still need as much room for error as possible. So even when I'm doing most of my sets, even though I can kick into a very straight handstand, majority of the time I'm going to kick up like this. Then I might tidy the position up. If I'm going to do something like handstand push-ups, I'll then make the connection between the feet and the shoulders, make it one segment, but I would have kicked up a little bit looser to start with. Now I find my tight line, then I do the handstand push-up, then I come back down again. But I kicked up with that slightly looser position to make sure I kicked up, I caught the handstand and I didn't use too much energy. And then obviously as your ability improves, you can just pick and choose what variation of the kick up or what variation of your handstand line you're going to use depending on what you're training for in that particular set. I think the big takeaway for everyone is that we can constantly work on our kick up whenever we're doing our entries to handstand for the other drills that we're doing, whether it's handstand push-ups or presses, whatever the skill we're working towards, we can constantly refine and keep working on that kick up. Let me know if you can think of anything else I've missed off this list down in the comments below. Thumbs up and subscribe would be appreciated. If you're after coaching, check out my app and website, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Thanks, guys.